Hi, this is Mike from Heaven Shall Burn, and you're watching CMS TV.
It was great, man. We showed up at the hotel, and there was like 300 kids waiting there to say hi, and it was like that every day we were in Sao Paulo, and it was a different group of people. You know, they'd be showing up all day long, and they'd have all their pictures, and some of them were ones that had seen us before, but some of them were ones that had never had a chance. So it was a great experience, and we went to a couple new places, and it's just been fun. Like I said, I'm in a pretty good place right now as far as, you know, being happy about what's around, and I'm not really like looking or wanting anything.
Right.
You know, when you looked at the posters for the summer festivals and you saw all your friends playing, and you go there and be a special guest, and whoever it was that I played with in my time off, because I never really wanted to join another band, you always still missed having your spot.
Sure.
So now that you're back there, just like I said, everybody feels like we're back at home.
Chris Akin presents, and I, of course, am Chris Akin. And today on the show, we are getting one of the better guys out there as far as success, as far as not letting success go to his head, keeping it cool, being real. He's always been real with me, whether it was here on Classic Metal Show or whatever. He is the great Chris Caffery, back with a new release, 20 Years of the Music Man. It is out on June the 13th. And welcome to the show, Chris Caffery.
It is great to be here. Thanks for having me. I have so many things going on right now, and I'm really excited about this record coming out. And it's funny because when I first was thinking about doing something for this year, I recorded that song that's on the record, the new one that's called "Do You See What I See Now?" And that I thought would be a really cool tag to have a 20th anniversary of my Warped/Goddamn More record, and I was going to title it back to the original title and do it that way. And I spoke to Holger at Metalville, and he's like, "Well, that would be a double LP, and everything is so expensive, and blah-de-da-da. Why don't you just try releasing that and Mayday and some of your unreleased things, and we could put together, you know, just one record, a new record." And I was like, okay, so I was looking at that, then all of a sudden I went, well, I have a lot of songs that people listened to in the past that I think that I'm watching what happened with Savatage and what happened with my other bands. Like, I think a lot of the people who had not had a chance to hear Pisses Me Off or Music Man, you know, they would like it if they heard it again. So I started trying to assemble a single record including a couple of those songs. And then eventually I had two records. And I went back to Holger and to Metalville and said, can I do a double LP? And I talked him into it. So it's like, I got what I wanted, completely different. And it was pretty interesting. I put together, it was kind of difficult because all my records are a lot different. And I included something from every one of them, but you know, it was hard for me to pick because you're trying to think of, all right, what's the best representation? So I just kind of scanned through the 20 years that I'd done my solo music and put together this complete piece, and it's actually really cool. I like the way it flows and what it shows for me, and I think everybody's gonna. You know, people that don't have my music yet, I think will really get a pretty cool listen going from top to bottom on everything that I've done musically like that.
Sure. Is it hard for you today in 2025 to kind of compartmentalize yourself back into quote unquote Chris Caffery mode? I mean, obviously TSO is the juggernaut that it is. And now Savatage is back with arguably the most anticipated touring of the entire year and into next year. Is it hard for you to disassociate yourself enough from those two monster projects to focus on Chris Caffery, the solo artist, and find the nooks and crannies that you have not shared with the audience that likes your work?
Well, luckily I had a little bit of time in the months before we started rehearsing with Savatage. So I was able to put some things together. I mean, it was always challenging for me to have to assemble a lot of things with my solo thing on my own. And then when you're working with other people, you know, it's hard to find the ones that have the individual time. That's why I kind of switched to just doing singles instead of doing full records, because I like to work kind of broken, and it was really hard for me to go, okay, now I'm going to find 5 months. I'm going to pick a drummer. I'm going to send him all the music in, which I was able to do with Tishy, and he got it done. But I don't know. I wasn't in the mood to work on 10 songs at once. I was enjoying working on Mayday and putting a lot of attention into a single song. You know, I think sometimes when you work on a full record, you know, every song gets the same attention production wise, but it may not get the same attention writing wise. And you know, it's been a long time since I was in that kind of a mode. You know, when Savatage stopped playing in 2003, and I locked myself in my bedroom and started writing with Pro Tools, I think a lot of that was getting Pro Tools for the first time.
Okay.
Buying a new paint set. You had all these different, you started with the 8 colors, and all of a sudden you had 64, and then you had 128, and you were able to do all these things. So I think that triggered like a landfall of songwriting. But once you'd gotten through 8 or 9 records like I did, and written that many songs, you know, you have a lot of ideas, but a lot of times you start to repeat yourself, where you're trying to do a record and like, okay, well, this record needs its Music Man, and it needs its Abandon. We do that with Savatage or with TSO. When you're writing records, you make a map. You know, there's always like ballads, and then you have your faster songs, and you have your mediums. But in the beginning, when I was doing it, I was just writing a stockpile full of music with really no kind of map to it. So now for me, it's a little more fun because I put the attention into the single song, and like the last song I did, I think was somewhere around like 97 tracks of a lot of different things. So you just keep adding on things, and it becomes where the one song becomes pretty much like a little mini story. So I was really excited to be able to get Jeff Scott Soto to sing with me in that song, because, you know, he talked to me when the COVID year, when we went to Nashville to do our pay-per-view. He just came up out of the blue one day, and he's like, "Yo, Calf, how come, you know, you don't have me sing on any of your solo records?" I'm like, "Well, nobody sings on my solo records." Like me and Oliva did a Rack Attack. That was it. And Zach did a duo of Solitaire. But he just, oh man, I would do one with you. And then I just thought about it. And when I wrote this song, it's about basically any dominant world leader that could brainwash people into doing what he wants. And usually that person is kind of a little bit on the dark side. So the song has, you know, me kind of singing about things that are going on, and then it has the devil taking over and just, you know, doing what he does, which is being the devil. And we did the Beethoven's Last Night tour with Jeff Scott Soto being Mephistopheles, and he was so good at that dark side of the voice, you know, the raspy metal voice. So I just texted him out of the blue. I'm like, "Hey, would you want to do a song?" And I sent the thing out to him, and he had it back to me in like a day. It's like, wow. And I just, you know, I think I got lucky and blessed with that song, because then I had heard from Derek Sherinian through the whole COVID mess. He's like, "Hey, if you ever need any keyboard stuff, let me know." And I never really contacted him, but I just was listening to the solo section, and sometimes I'll get somebody like Joel or another guitar player to do a guitar battle with me. But for some reason in my head, when I was thinking about Soto, I was thinking about Derek because, he worked with him with Sons of Apollo and stuff like that. And I just texted Derek and I'm like, hey, you want to do a little keyboard battle with me? And I sent him the track and he sent me back, I want to say it's 28 tracks of keyboards. Wow. Gave me the solos and like all these different strings and orchestration. And then he listened back to it. He says, I need to add more. So he was getting into the song, and the song hit him in a way that he really liked. So, I already had Tishy and McNabb on it, and then I got these two, and it came out really cool. I'm very excited for people to hear that one. That's something I'm trying to, I got to get a hold of these guys, because the guy that does, Wayne Joyner, does my lyric videos for me now. Yeah. And he's so good, and they don't really need to have brilliant video. I just got to get some. So I want to get them all involved. I got to ask Derek if he'll, shoot his way through his keys, and if Jeff will do his vocals. And, even if I don't get to have Tishy do something, I'll just ask Brian if I could borrow some video of him to get in there, and I'll get some stuff like McNabb and just make a pretty cool lyric video with all of them. I think I got a few weeks to get that done. I got to shoot the song out to Wayne. It's funny, I'm so behind on things because Metalville picked the singles. They wanted to release some of the unreleased songs, so they did last time first, and I was really excited to see how much people liked that song, because that was kind of an unreleased one from the Faces sessions, and it was just a pretty brutal song musically, and I always enjoyed listening to that one, but it was never released. And then they wanted to add the really empty kind of acoustic ballad I had as the second single. So I got the Last Time video done the day before the single release, because we were in South America. I literally sat in my hotel room in Florida when we were about to fly to Brazil and spun in a circle and sang. Like, I was like, I got to film something. So I just looked at my phone and spun in a circle. And I was like, because I'm looking, I'm going, this is so gay. I'm going to sit, no offense, but I was like, meaning gay as far as being like wimpy, as far as how I was filming myself. I'm going, I hate selfies, and I hate, the cameo things and stuff like that.
Sure.
So I'm sitting there looking at the video I had of me singing. I'm going, this is terrible. So I just spun around in circles really fast and made myself super dizzy and went through the song. And that's what you see in the footage of me in that video, is just me standing in my hotel room and spinning really fast and singing my song. And I go, here we go. It's me singing. And that's how I did it. The new one, the next thing I do for this one, I think I may want to, go outside and light my fire pit or something. Okay. And get out there and put the camera in front of the flames and sing behind it and just do something that'll, because Wayne's so good with the animation and stuff like that. So if I was to have either the foreground or the background of the flames and fire like that, I think he'd be able to add the image of war and hell that I think would match that song correctly, and I'll just get everything from everybody else. But yeah, it's interesting trying to get it all together. I was so excited and so engulfed in the Savatage thing, and my emails and my social media and everything are so completely swamped. And then buried in beneath everything is, do you have an interview? Can you finish this? Can you finish the credits? And I'm like behind on my own solo record. The worlds were all colliding. It wasn't a bad thing, but it kind of like when it rains, it pours, and I had a freaking monsoon going on, but it was a good monsoon. I just got TSO, and I knew I had to get my stuff together for the Savatage shows, and I wanted to release this record, and Holger was like, well, we're going to do it in June, and I'm like, oh boy, because I was like, in a perfect world it would have been September, but they wanted it out then, and I can understand that, because like I said, my my exposure is pretty strong right now, so it would be, I think it's good for me that people are able to grab on some of my stuff too. I mean, Savatage doesn't have new music out, so it's not like the old stuff is not being listened to, but it's fun for me to have people going, hey, I just heard your new song, and that's exciting as well. So like I said, it's a cool time right now. I got 3 weeks, a little over 3 weeks, so I got to leave for Germany to rehearse with Savatage, because we have 5 headline shows over there. I think it's 5. And then 2 of the festivals we're headlining. So there's like 7 shows we'll have the longer set. And we're have a little bit more production and stuff like that. So I think we got a week over there to rehearse. So I just got to get ready for that and finish all my business at home. And I got a lot of interviews and press stuff for this record. And I was swamped in January, February, and March. It was crazy how many interviews I was doing for Savatage, and that continued into when I was down in Florida. And it's been exciting because I missed that part of things. It's like I always tell everybody that there was kind of a void in the middle of me when Savatage disappeared. I tried to fill it with my solo thing, but it was so much responsibility. And like I said, you have to coordinate yourself and other musicians. It just became too expensive and too stressful, and I didn't want to do something that was going to add stress. So I kind of backed off and just did the recording and went more on my glass art and other things that I was doing at home that were eating up my time and keeping me involved, because that gave me a way to communicate with people and still have that connection without getting out on the road and being completely stressed out. But now with Savatage being back, I mean, that's just so much fun for me. I'm bouncing off the walls with it. I'm like I said, it's a peaceful kind of balance. You get things that are happening in your personal life as you get older with family members and their health, and some things that are very, very stressful happening right now. I don't let people know about my private life online, but it's been a pretty difficult year so far. But the ability to have something as solid to my soul as Savatage there as a background for everything that's happening, really, it's kind of anchored me and leveled me down, and it keeps me from being irresponsible. It keeps me focused on my health and my music and everything around me, instead of losing my mind over what I have to go through every day. So
Hey, pinball wizards and arcade aficionados, ready for a trip down memory lane, or maybe just a blast into the now? Welcome to Pinball PA, where we've got more than just games. We've got a time machine. With over 420 games, that's 200 plus pinball machines and another 200 plus arcade games, stretching all the way from the 1940s to the latest and greatest. Whether you're here for nostalgia or novelty, we've got you covered. And guess what? No quarters, no tokens. Just pay the admission fee and it's all you can play. Perfect for birthday parties, team building events, or those special educational STEM and STEAM field trips. Need a spot for some spontaneous fun? No reservations are needed. Just come on down to the Hopewell Shopping Center at 2284 Broadhead Road, Suite 10B in Aliquippa, Pennsylvania. For more information, check out our site at www.pinballpa.com or give us a ring at 412-423-8532. Pinball PA, where every play is a free play.
Did you, in your wildest dreams, and I'll just tell you a quick story that I know you don't remember, but the first time I met you was in 97, maybe 98, when you guys played Peabody's Down Under, when Savatage played Peabody's Down Under, long time ago. In your wildest dreams, could you have ever seen that band on the biggest stages that you are playing now, headlining like Wacken type shows and stuff?
Well, I mean, right around then, when we were reaching pretty high levels in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
We headlined Akin in '98, and
Okay.
on that poster, Savatage was the only band that had a logo. So it was
Right.
Savatage and like 100 different bands, but we were the only band on the poster that had a logo. So we were getting to a pretty big level in Europe. There was readers' polls and magazines where they would have the top 5 bands, and we would go anywhere from 1 to 5, with Maiden and Metallica being ahead or behind us and things like that. So we were reaching a pretty big level there. I don't know if I would just sit there and say 30 years later, or almost 30 years
Right, yeah.
from 97, that we would be doing it with the energy that's happening around it from everybody, from the band, from the fans, from the promoters, from the just everything. It was crazy. We went to South America, and it was like we never stopped. It was so, like, we walked in. I mean, it was like a time warp. I tell everybody it was kind of like, because we never broke up, we just stopped. So they always said that the reunion. It's like, well, we've always been together. We just didn't play. I say if you look at Austin Powers, he was cryogenically frozen, and that was like Savatage. It was like finally you got in there, and it's like you're melting off the ice and going, but you're still there. We still feel exactly the same. That's what I'm saying, that it's like I don't feel any different than I did back then when I'm standing on the side of the stage and waiting to go out there with Johnny standing next to me, and other than the fact that we have in-ears, which we didn't have back then.
Sure.
You can hear, which is both good and bad, because sometimes they don't work exactly right. We were down in Brazil in one of our in-ear racks there was 2 racks powering the band and the crew's in-ears, and of course my rack and Johnny's rack had to be the one that was having the issues. So you're playing and you're hearing lots of static noise, and
Oh boy.
trying to get play through it, and that kind of stuff the fans never hear what you're going through, but there's the biggest leak in the world in your roof, and it's drizzling out. It's
Right.
like you're freaking out because you think everybody hears what you hear in your head. But it was great, man. We showed up at the hotel, and there was like 200-300 kids waiting there to say hi, and it was like that every day we were in Sao Paulo, and it was a different group of people. They would be showing up all day long, and they'd have all their pictures, and some of them were ones that had seen us before, but some of them were ones that had never had a chance. So it was a great experience, and we went to a couple new places, and it's just been fun. Like I said, I'm in a pretty good place right now as far as being happy about what's around, and I'm not really like looking or wanting anything.
Right.
When you looked at the posters for the summer festivals and you saw all your friends playing, and you'd go there and be a special guest, and whoever it was that I played with in my time off, because I never really wanted to join another band, you always still missed having your spot.
Sure.
So now that you're back there, just like I said, everybody feels like we're back at home.
Sure. Is it, and I don't want to ask too much of a downer question, but I got to ask, obviously Paul O'Neill passed away a few years ago. Now with Savatage, John's not out with you guys. Does it feel weird? Does it feel like there's pieces missing in both projects?
Well, I mean, it feels like there's pieces missing when I step up and play Savatage and I'm doing Chris Oliva's stuff and he's not.
Fair.
It's like, that's always like that. John, I'd never done anything without him on stage with Savatage. I said that to him when we were rehearsing for TSO, and because he was the one that said, I want you guys to play. And we had a pretty deep discussion one night, and they said, I've never done anything without you. And we were basically in tears talking about life and things and this and that. And he just looked at me and said, would you go play this fucking music?
Right.
So, and I swore. Oops.
That's fine.
I was quoting Jon Oliva. Wasn't Chris Caffery swearing. He quoted, no. But so yeah, at that time, I mentioned to people, and everybody kind of jumped onto the idea of trying to figure out a way to get him out there with us, and we filmed him singing believe, a new recording of it. We latched ourselves along. So in a lot of ways, it felt like he was there. He was there every single day of rehearsals. He was the one main person making decisions on what songs we were going to play and the arrangements and stuff. So it's not like Jon wasn't there. He was kind of more, he assumed the role in Savatage that Paul had always had with TSO, where he was there and he was, the one kind of guiding everybody, but he just wasn't out on the stage. Paul would come and be in one song, and that's the same kind of way it was with Jon. So yeah, even when Paul was alive, it was different when he was around than when he wasn't on show days. When he showed up, the arena was, electric all around. He just created this ball of energy, and with him being gone, it's definitely not the same with Trans-Siberian Orchestra. It's like Paul doing what we can to keep his legacy going, but the craziness, as I call it, for a lack of a better thing, that Paul would add into everything is kind of not the same. Because Paul would have ideas that nobody could make happen but Paul. And I would always say, like I said in my Lost Tonight song, that, he made the impossible happen. You would hear what he wanted to do, like the two bands playing at Akin at the same time, and nobody would figure somebody would be able to get something like that together. And it was just Paul had that magic of doing that. So I mean, he's always with us because there was so much guidance as far as how we perform and the level that we want to make things and how we want to represent that music and how we want to keep ourselves, current to ourselves. So, you can't help aging, but you can help yourself, try to stay as healthy as humanly possible. And we're out there just trying to do our best to be the best we can and play that music. And with, Al, Johnny, and Zach in the front line of that stage with Jeff behind me, that band did a tremendous amount of shows, and Jon would be way over on the other side of the stage behind his keyboard over there. So it was a lot of times I didn't necessarily see him all the time on stage. I would see Johnny, I would see Zach. So for me, it was a natural attachment to them, where I grasped onto them to give me any support I needed as far as my emotions and the Olivas not being there or Paul not being around. But I did crack in Brazil a bunch of times because I knew the video was there of Jon. I saw the pieces with him singing, but I never saw the guitar solo section. With the footage of Chris. And I up on stage watching pictures of him and pictures of me and him, and I lost it because I hadn't seen it. So you're playing that, and that hit really hard. I'm in front of 50,000 people bawling my eyes out, and I'm like, well, that's a situation that never gets any different, because I always miss him. I mean, I love Al Petrelli, and I love playing with Al, and he's probably all around the best guitar player I've ever played with in my life. But Chris was more like a big brother to me. I was a little kid, and he took me under his wing and created a position in his band for me. When people say that this version of Savatage doesn't have original members, I'm like, I'm the original Chris Caffery because there was no fifth Beatle until well, Paul was kind of the fifth Beatle. I was like the sixth, but in Savatage there was no other guitar player, so I'm able to go in there and just be myself, which is something that did not have to happen. The Oliva brothers made that spot for me. So when I get up there, it's painfully deep inside of me, how important he is, and the time I lost by the temporary time I was out that I'll never get back and stuff like that. But I feel good about going up there and watching how much people love him and his music, and the fact that we're playing it again. It's so special to the fans. I mean, the small amount of fans that pass judgment upon their perfect version of Savatage. It's like, well, I have my perfect version of the Giants and Jets, and my perfect version of the Yankees and Mets, and my perfect version of Iron Maiden, and my perfect version of Black Sabbath, and my perfect version of Ozzy's band, and this, that, and the other thing. But, you know, when it comes to the music, I still love all the Sabbath music. I still love all the Ozzy music. I still love all, you know, the Maiden music. I still love all the Priest music. And I would rather see Ozzy, Maiden, Priest, Sabbath, you know, even bands like now when you go live and you get to just watch the music of Leonard Skinner and stuff like that. You'd rather get that opportunity than selfishly wish it be gone because you don't agree with that. And I love all the fans. I mean, we wouldn't be there without it, but it means so much for me to be able to get back out there and play this music that sometimes it's a little heartbreaking to see some of the people that are never happy. But I think it's like that with the internet's made that, the internet's made that possible. I think people just, you know, a lot of times like to create trouble, even if it may not necessarily be what they agree with, but if they can get attention from being the negative side of things, and that happens too. There's a lot of that I've watched through my time. I mean, I spent so much time developing, being on the net. I think I was the first artist to ever do a online tour diary, and I'm pretty sure I was. And I just watched myself want to be around it to go away from it. It was funny. When COVID hit, everybody went online and I left. But the only thing was I'm such a moron with stuff like that. I'm the worst stock buyer in the world, you know, because it's like I bought stock in the internet when it opened. Then I sold it when it went from 5 cents to $5 million, you know, because during COVID, it was the only thing going on. You bail out of it. And I watch friends of mine that have like 75,000 YouTube followers for like these shows that they would have maybe 75 people if it wasn't for the COVID time. And I'm like, maybe I should have just trickled myself in every once in a while. But it was like, I was so excited. Not that I was excited that COVID was there, but I was excited to have time away. When I got Christmas at home, we did our pay-per-view and stuff like that. But I actually enjoyed
being home,
the privacy of 2020. I didn't love the fact that the world was shutting down, but I liked being able to hide and do my art and not have to be anywhere. And
good stuff. Well, man, obviously, man, we're running way over. So let me wrap this one up. Obviously, it's an exciting time to be a fan of Chris Caffery, whether you want the TSO, which will be around, I'm sure, later in the year, or Savatage.
We'll be back out doing what we're doing. And it's the 25th anniversary of the release of the Beethoven's Last Night record, which is so crazy when you think about it. It's like 25 years of TSO would be a lot of time, but when you're looking at the 25th year of the Beethoven record, and the fact that next year is the 30th anniversary of Christmas Eve and Other Stories. This year is actually the 30th anniversary of the release of Christmas Eve Sarajevo on Dead Winter Dead. I mean, 30 years since that song came out. So it's crazy. It's been a really fun, exciting ride. Like I said, I have to thank the Olivas and especially thank Paul for everything that came together around that. You know, we had such a solid base settled behind us through the training that Paul had in his career as a manager and a producer and a businessman. And, you know, I don't know if we necessarily take that for granted, but he always had our back, you know, no matter where we were. If we were on the road and we were short some money, our bus got paid for, you know. It's like Paul always had our back, and that science and mentality just got put into everything he's ever done. And, you know, the whole TSO family and the machine that works, it's just such a great group of people, and it's such a great thing to be involved with, because like I said, you never really, your most important thing to worry about is yourself, you know.
Right, sure.
Do what you do the best you can for them, and every single person that's involved with that organization does what they do, and altogether it makes this big magical conglomeration of Paul's ideas and our music. And the same thing's happening with Savatage. That same group of people is organizing what we're doing now. And when I went on the road with the Savatage stuff, we had Brian Hartley doing our video and light stuff, and
right.
You know, I had my TSO crew guys on stage, and you just felt really comfortable about everything around you. So the most important thing I had to do was just go up there and be Chris Caffery, which, you know, that to me, that was the thing that made it the most fun.
Sure.
Wow, you know, you're the little kid that was getting a chance to go to Disneyland again. You know, it's like,
right.
Parents were taking us to this luxury resort hotel, and meanwhile you wanted to ride Space Mountain, and it's like all of a sudden you're back on Space Mountain when Savatage went out, and it was a great feeling. I'm so excited to get over to Europe and to have a block of the head. I know it's not a really long tour, but we have a block of the headline shows, so it's going to be fun to see the, you know, Savatage concerts times 5 and get back into that. And then we've got Hellfest, which we've never done, and it's just going to be Into the Grave. We've never played that festival, and we're headlining a Rock Wave night, which is freaking awesome to end it off in Greece. So I can't wait to get back out there and
absolutely
see the people that like the ones in Brazil were really supporting us back then and just waiting for us to come back now.
Well, it's a great time to be a fan, man. Obviously, Chris Caffery, 20 years of the Music Man, June the 13th. Make sure you get it. Don't just stream it, people. Don't be lame. Buy something, please.
Exactly. Well, I got the doubles LP is really cool. It's the first time I've ever released an LP. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm doing signed ones through my website. And the cover art I made sure was really friendly to be able to be written on, because sometimes you get these covers that are so busy and you're like, all right, which color marker this one's really friendly to write and do. And like I said, there's music from every record that I've done in my records about the war. There's some of my instrumental stuff, some of my stuff that was a little, you know, more holiday related in the feeling of TSO. It's got the trifecta of my funny songs, because I actually put the song You Gotta Be Effing Kidding Me on this 20 Years of Music Man because whoever dialed that into iTunes messed up the tracks on Pins and Needles. So the song It's Sad, the title went on that, and You Gotta Be Effing Kidding Me had the wrong title, and I wanted to share that song because it's such a fun metal song with that title, and it was almost impossible to do because I didn't have the title attached. So now it's detached and on its own. And then when COVID was out, I wrote Sick of This Shit. So you've got Pisses Me Off, Sick of This Shit, and You Gotta Be Effing Kidding Me on the record, which I think that doesn't like. I think it's funny, and those are the kind of songs, like I said, that the way the world is nowadays, that I'm hoping that more people latch on to them and feel the fun side that I wanted to put out of the crap that we go through sometimes in life. Right
on. Well, one more time, it is 20 years of the Music Man. It is Chris Caffery. And Chris, thanks for joining me here on Chris Akin Presents.
Looking to sell your car quickly and for top dollar? At buyyourcars.net, we make it easy. Whether your vehicle is new, used, or even damaged, we'll buy it in any condition. Fast offers, quick cash, and hassle-free transactions. What more could you ask for? Just visit buyyourcars.net, enter your vehicle information, and get a fast offer within minutes. Ready to sell? Call us today at 770-815-0342 or fill out the contact form at buyyourcars.net. Get cash fast for your car the easy way. Buyyourcars.net. Selling your car has never been easier.